Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Salam Media. I'm your host, Ridhaa Dawood, taking you through the next half an hour. It's been an amazing show thus far. We opened up chatting all things DSTV Premiership, and then obviously the curtain raiser for the English Premiership season, where Liverpool will be taking on Man City on over the weekend, and we'll love to see the outcome of that encounter and how it sets the tone for the rest of the season. We were chatting all things transfers. If you missed out on it, you can get it on our social media platforms, and the podcast will be up on the website as well. Well, next up, we're chatting Banyana. It's been in the headlines for this past week. We've seen the welcome that they've got back to South Africa by the public at OR Tambo Airport. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. We've seen the likes of Mark Williams there. We've seen former footballers. We've seen um, the ministry there. It's been amazing. And then they were welcomed by Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday at the Union Buildings. Something phenomenal. Well, look no further than getting insight on what happened directly inside the camp. We're joined by Ridhaa Allie, the conditioning coach for Banyana, who's been jet setting around the country and he's finally met up with his family. But he made time to chat to us on Salam Media this evening. So if you're watching this on social media, in the comment section below, drop your comments, ask your questions, take advantage. It's not every day we've got a African Cup of Nations winning conditioning coach on our show. Salam Rida, thanks so much for taking the time out of your evening and time with your family to spend with us on Salam Media.
Walaikum salam, Zakir. I hope you're well. And nah, not a problem at all. Excited to chat to you about things that happen. So, yeah,
Rida, this must be an amazing experience. Has it sunk in yet that you're the champions of Africa?
I think every time you say that, I get this goosebumps in my body just about the feeling, just about everything that happened. And I don't think it's sunk in yet. It's been a crazy few days, all different celebrations. But yeah, I think over the next couple of days, it's definitely going to sink in. But I still get tingles just thinking about it.
Look, the feeling of winning the cup itself, once the final whistle blew, was one thing. Compare that feeling to the feeling when you arrived at the airport. Just run us
So
exactly through how that experience felt for you.
sure. I was actually just telling someone earlier that when the whistle went, I think the relief of that 9 minutes of extra time, I think that was a celebration on its own. And then knowing that we won the cup, that was big. But coming back to South Africa, I don't think words can actually describe that because seeing what it does for our country and seeing the support we got, I think the celebrations were also broken up because, like you said, the
Mm.
final whistle, we celebrated as a team. But coming out at the airport and seeing the celebrations of the country, I don't think words can describe that. That moment, everything that happened, the energy around there, it was like, I can't describe it. Like those goosebumps are still going through my body. Seeing everyone smiling, seeing how happy we can be as a country, I think that is just amazing.
And it's amazing just to think like how the Springboks set the precedent and the tone. And now you have the Banyana national team doing the exact same thing. It must be lucky to be South African at this moment in time.
Nah, definitely. And like if you see the energy, if you see like I came home today back to Cape Town, I went with my wife
What
to the
was that
mall.
like?
Oh, that was the final celebration, I think, for all of us to come to your loved ones,
Mm.
come to your family, and just it's been a long time. Some of us were away from home from the 10th of June, I think. So not seeing your loved ones, not seeing your family, and coming home to them and seeing what it means to everyone in Cape Town, seeing what it means to your family, seeing how it inspires the younger ones. I think it just makes it all worth it.
And your experience as a whole, working with the team, we do know it's no hidden fact that women's sport in South Africa is not treated the same like their male counterparts. For you as a conditioning coach, knowing what you're working with and knowing the levels and the standards that you need to achieve, what were some of the goals you set in place for yourself in order to make sure that your team can perform at a international standard?
Yeah. So that's actually something very important because you need to have goals for yourself in other to make sure that the team has goals. Because if you don't have goals, the team can't achieve their goals because your goals need to be part of the team's goals. And before I took this job on, the conditioning coach, Ridhaa Allie, he actually works at Sundowns now. So he has a lot of history in football and his CV speaks for itself. You obviously know about Sundowns. And the girls were in 4 finals before this. So there was a lot of pressure coming into my first big tournament. And the main thing was for us to be injury free. If I could keep the girls injury free and they could all be selected, we had enough players in the team. We have enough players in South Africa to do what we need to do. But
Mm.
sometimes the mindset, the body, there's a lot of small different factors that obviously play a part. And I knew that if I could keep the girls fit, the coach would have a bigger selection. And with that, we'd be able to definitely do well. And we took it each game at a time. That was the main thing. It was never to prepare for the final. It was to make sure when we went through the injury list, we had no injuries because then the coach could select the best 11 going onto the field.
And looking at always selecting the best 11, your camp was rocked by injury, by COVID-19 making a surprise return to your
Sure.
camp. As a conditioning coach, how did you deal with those challenges and work around it to always make sure that you could give Coach Desiree the best 11 to put on the field?
Sure. I think with that, when COVID hit us and COVID hit us, it was crazy at the stage. There was a time we didn't even know if we'd have 18 players to put on the field. But I think at the same time, myself and the coach and the technical team, we actually spoke because a lot of people might not know, but Hilda was out for a good few games.
Mm.
And she came back, I think, for the Zambia game in the semi final. And she actually only had one training session before that. I trained her and we prepared her for about 30 minutes to play. And half time, the assistant coach asked her if she could give us 45. And we actually made a joke about it and we said she'll be able to give us 45. And what a 45 she gave us. And then going into the final, myself and her trained again 3 days before because obviously we couldn't do much loading on the team. We've played 5 games. This was the last one,
Mm.
but luckily, Hilda's mentality is very important. And myself and her worked on a few things, conditioning aspects before the final, and then 2 goals in the final. I think that speaks for itself. There's players that they didn't play the first 2 games. They came in, they played the third game against Botswana, which was very important for us because we needed to top the table, and they put in such a solid performance. And the worst thing I think about tournaments are when the 11 are playing and we make 3 or 4 subs, there's another maybe 6 or 7 sitting on the bench. So straight after the game, the CAF gave us basically 10 minutes. We would have liked more time, obviously. And the girls had to put in some extra work after the game. While the team was celebrating, some girls with myself had to put in extra work so that they could be prepared at each and every moment if Coach Desiree called upon them. And I think that was actually the biggest positive out of all of it was that we had that mentality.
Looks like we just lost Ridha there for a second. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing listening to his story. Welcome back.
Oh, sorry, yeah, now
That's fine.
the phone
Uh,
and everything. So yeah, like I was saying, the balance of everything happened, and you know something that we've all agreed to is that everything happens from the man above, and
mm.
we use that in a positive way. So nothing ever stopped us because there was training sessions when we were training when they put sprinklers on while we were training. They didn't want to switch on the lights. We had COVID. It was crazy. Like it was such a story. But at the end of the day, as a team, we knew what we needed to do. The girls knew what they needed to do. And yeah, I think the rest is we can just talk about it now. But we did what we needed to.
Look, many people will remember you for what you've done for women's football, for the Women's African Cup of Nations. But Ridhaa Allie, as an individual and as a sports conditioning coach, what did it take you to get to the pinnacle? I mean, you mentioned off air briefly to me that you studied your personal training, you studied um, sports conditioning specific. Tell us a bit more about your journey en route to winning the Women's African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, I think yeah, it all started playing football and thinking one day I'm gonna play for Bafana, I'm gonna be a superstar. You know, every kid has that dream. And then I had a bad knee injury, so I had an ACL tear at the age of like 16, and then at 18 I tore my left leg. But at that time in sports, we didn't really understand about conditioning, about strengthening, about looking after your body. We just thought that talent could take us to the top. And as time went on, I went to Rondebosch Boys, I studied at ETA, and then I got involved in football. I started at Milano United. And I was very privileged because I just won promotion to at the time it was called Glad Africa. I think just before that, I'm not sure, the first
Mm,
division. And I spent some time working for them, and then I went to a few Vodacom teams. I also opened my own gym in that time because when I suffered the injury, it was a lot mentally to overcome that. My life has been changed into not playing football again, and I would never want any other footballer to go through that. So I opened a gym. The gym is still open, metamorphosized personal training, and I actually train people so for different sporting aspects. And in that time, I think it was about a year ago, 2 years ago, I was in Joburg working for Steenberg, and Coach Desiree gave me a call. We've been chatting a lot, and she
mm,
told me there's a camp coming up. She'd like to call me up, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And then we spoke about because it's important as a conditioner to understand what type of football your coach wants to play because the time of just running around and running up and down and standing with a stopwatch, football is changing all the time. We see the
mm,
European countries, we see a lot of the other countries. Their training has been very different. So going into that, going speaking to coach, understanding where they came from, which is also a lot of pressure because they've been to World Cups, they've been to Olympics, they've been to 4 AFCON
mm,
finals. And then my first camp was we played Zambia and Zambia and I'm not sure, I can't even, Botswana, I think in a friendly in March after COVID. So going into that for the first time with these players that have played abroad, players that have been to World Cup, I think the first thing is you need to get the trust of the players. Because if you don't have the trust of the players, it's very hard for them to understand what you need to do and understand how you need to do it. So, sure, these girls are amazing though. That gives, let me tell you, like this was not by luck to win this AFCON. Like these girls have put in so much hard work. These girls, and not only in camp. That's the amazing part about it. That off camp, we actually played Zambia. I don't know if you can
mhm.
remember before we played Algeria in a friendly game and we lost
Yeah,
3-0. And
that's when
straight
so many
after that,
questions came up.
that's when so many question games up. But our girls weren't playing football. Remember, the Hollywood Bets League hasn't started yet,
Mm,
and we needed to get the 90-minute game more for conditioning. At the end of the day, all of us in camp knew that it was a conditioning game, but at the same time, you are playing football, so we don't take that away from Zambia.
mm,
But our main thing was straight after the game was as soon as we're getting Zambia when it counts, we are going to make it count. And that's why that semi-final game, it was very personal for a lot of us because a lot of us were questioned. There were a lot of doubt over us. And I think
mm,
each and every time we play, with this happening now, it just shows that we stuck together. Big credit to Coach Desiree because she also believed in all of us. I think that's a big thing. And being in women's football, obviously there's a lot of women's fitness coaches and we're excited about that. So it's very important that the girls trust what you do and you need to understand the human. So a lot of times understanding who each player is very important to when I do what I need to do. Because if I
mm.
understand Dakir, I know how to get the best out of Dakir. And me speaking to Dakir, me patting Dakir on the shoulder, me Dakir saying, let's go Dakir. There's different forms of doing that. And I'm lucky to understand each and every player. And that helps a lot. Like there were times when we were playing, I think the 9 o'clock game, where 12, 1 o'clock, girls were sitting in ice baths because we needed to get them ready for the next game. So, yeah.
Yes, that's hectic. That is
Uh,
hectic. I can only just imagine what it was like. And I mean, just for you now, going forward, you've got this massive achievement on your CV. What do we expect from you? I mean, you've got your own gym. Is this you telling the general public that if you want to be African champions, come train with me?
nah, not at all. Just I think just focusing on getting the girls to the best version of themselves for the World Cup. Obviously,
Mm,
we know in football nothing is guaranteed, but just becoming the best version of myself so that I can help the girls and obviously learn more, because at the end of the day, football is growing all the time. We were lucky before the African Women Cup of Nations to get a FIFA conditioning coach to chat to to us and to give us some advice about the 2019 World Cup, what the stats showed, what we can improve. So we're definitely going to look at that. Between the technical team, we've already sat and
mm.
decided what we think we need to do. So definitely more hard work from me, from the girls, from everyone going into the World Cup.
And now, I mean, you've got a World Cup qualification. It's obviously not new to many in your camp. And do you think that was the turning point in the tournament, or the first achievement in the tournament, knowing that you guys are on the right track?
I think the girls, their head they were so sure that they just wanted to win AFCON, like just the
Mm,
final. Because I think 4 years ago, I wasn't there myself, but they were so hurt that you know what they needed to. I think there was a feeling in their heart that they needed to change and overcome because of 4 years
mm,
ago, and I think they put it down that the qualification for the World Cup, that is standard. Like Banyana, that is has to happen. So I think that makes it more exciting and makes it more passion and more excitement going into the next build up to the World Cup. But winning AFCON was number one. Like I think automatically if you win AFCON, you know you're going to the World Cup.
mm.
But I think that feeling we needed to feel because it's the first time, like you said, and it's a crazy feeling. African champs.
Something special. Well, you've been away from home for about a month, just longer than a
Yeah.
month. What's the
Yeah.
first thing you're going to be getting up to now that you're at home with your family?
I think my child already said, Daddy, you need to take me to the swing and push me. So tomorrow, definitely park and definitely just whatever the wife and the child wants to do.
Well, you've got a lot of making up to do, and I hope that you make the most out of it. But look, I definitely look forward to chatting to you again in the near future and getting your insights on what's happening inside the Banyana camp and what's happening in the world of sports and conditioning, the new trends that's coming up, and how things are evolving at such a rapid rate that it's just impossible for the normal citizen to keep up if we're not getting the information straight from um, what do we call you
Sports
now?
condition.
I mean,
Sports
no,
condition.
okay, let's just call him our African Cup of Nations sports conditioning winner. Put it that way, just to make
That,
it, I mean, to make it sound, you know, a bit better.
yeah.
I hope you have
I-
your Instagram updated and you've got the African Cup of Nations winner and your Facebook's updated, and I mean, even
yeah.
your CV.
Nah, definitely. I need to get on that now. You actually reminded me. So it's been so hectic. But yeah, I think we're just very proud and happy to be South African. And, you know, a lot of times people think it doesn't mean much doing interviews, sending messages, but when we were in Morocco, that was the only thing keeping us motivated and knowing that we had the support because in the final we walked out to I think it was about 50,000 Moroccan fans. And you know what, seeing the girls so calm and relaxed, knowing that we have a whole country behind us, I think
Mm.
it's amazing. So thank you to you guys, Shukran, to each and everyone for doing what you're doing and the support we have. It makes it all worth it to see what it does for us as a country.
Any day, we've got your back. Whatever you need going forward, just know that we've got you. We've got
Perfect.
you
Nah.
covered, and we always look forward to chatting to you soon. I hope that you have a good weekend further with your family. Thanks for joining me once again, and that's it from us. Until we chat again soon, Rida.
Nah, Shukran. It was awesome chatting and definitely look forward to chatting again.
Afans, always a pleasure. That was the African Cup of Nations winning sports conditioning coach Ridhaa Allie, giving us a bit of a breakdown of what was happening behind the scenes, what it took him to get the girls ready and get the team ready to become the champions of Africa. We can finally call ourselves the champions of Africa after falling short so many times in the past. But now, South Africa, the champions of Africa, the Women's African Cup of Nations, a massive achievement. But look, we could go on all night about how amazing that achievement was. But we take our hats off to Coach Desiree, to the girls. It was an amazing achievement. Janine van Wyk and the team. Co- Massive congratulations from myself and the rest of the Salam Media team here. But for tonight, this Friday evening, how time flies when you're having fun. Well, another show's come to an end. Thanks to the listeners for tuning in, the viewers on social media for your comments, for calling. It was amazing chatting and just getting that interaction to hear what the general public has to say about what's happening in the world of sports. Always amazing. And I mean, comment lines are still open. So if you want to pop us a comment and get your thoughts, maybe something you'd like us to cover, pop it in the comment section below. My socials are always open, so you can pop me a message on social media. Um, Email the team. It's always amazing to see what the public wants to hear, and that's why we're here to give you what you want to hear. From myself and the team at the back, we just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and let's do this again next week, man. Let's do this again next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.